It depends on how, this one issue Luke was here,
Okay.
how entailed that gets. as
If
to-
you believe there's time, it could be taken up
Let's see.
on the agenda item, public comments at the end.
Yeah, or I think there's committee updates, if I remember right, somewhere in here.
Okay. Mark, it's your call. I mean,
I can do that.
but we can move forward after this and.
But to make sure I'm honoring the wishes of the committee, so the big things to discuss is June 22nd and the DAR event.
And the town manager will, I'm sure, have things to say about that. But
Yeah.
just let them know that the committee is working on that and improving the overall condition of the cemeteries. We're still working on solving the replacement of the stones at the old Methodist Cemetery at 917
Yep.
and Oak Hill, the
Yep.
things that are going on at Oak Hill. Only if you guys have time, though.
So you're just saying, give an overview of the work that we're looking to do
Planned
at
work at
Oak?
Oak Hill with
Yeah.
with a fence. I don't know if we need to be talking about the removal of trees, but certainly the fence addition and stuff.
Okay.
My apologies.
Hi there. We waited for
I
you.
was on the phone with the DEP commissioner.
Well, that's when you want to stay with him. You got him on the phone.
One bite at a time.
That's right. So we haven't done much, so we just went to, I skipped right down to update to the council, because Chris had put it on there, just to discuss what that is, but if you want to speak to budget update?
The budget for the cemetery will be discussed on May 9th, that's on the same night that all of Highway's budgets are. It was submitted as trees and all that stuff, so that is all, that the council has all that information. The night, they hear that night, and that night they make other decisions about outside agencies and what the final budget they want to put forward is, but we've had a pretty good process thus far, and with them on most everything.
Yeah, I would agree.
Can I ask a question? Have I forgotten the question? No. They are going to have to approve the change in the Oak Hill reserves. They're going to have to approve that before they approve the budget? Is that?
They're going to have to approve the use of the reserve.
Okay. Yeah.
That's part of, no, that when they approve the budget, there's the expense side and the revenue side. And when they approve the budget, they approve both, and the revenue side reflects the
Okay.
use of that reserve.
And they'll see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I want to make sure that they see it and everybody understands what's happening.
Yes, that, when I do my final little budget thing, I show every department, and I show the expense, and then I show any offsetting revenue that's going to reduce the property tax impact of it, so that they can see by department what the tax impact is, and that would show that revenue from the reserve,
Okay,
so
thank you.
that the tax amount would be smaller on that.
I just wanted to make sure we were.
That's always one of the most popular parts of the budget process, because everyone likes to see, at the end of the day, what the tax cost is for each division of government.
Okay. Oak Hill fence and tree removal, that's still scheduled for
Yep.
the spring. Old Methodist Cemetery update. We did go up there on the 16th, and I think we all have a better understanding of the area we're talking about. It's behind the church. Did anybody talk to you about it a little bit?
No.
It's all of us laid eyes on the pins. There's obvious signs of,
Depression?
Depressions in the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It laid straight out, too. It's a series of series of threes, and then some other beyond it. We also found a small stone still there.
in some slate, so, all good indicators that
Yeah,
we're in a better, more applicable area. There was some desire to do the LiDAR to solidify
Okay.
that. I can reach out to Alan if you want.
that would be great.
Okay. and try to get that set up, and
Yep,
I'll just get back to you on it.
that's great, that survey, once we get it done, was so helpful,
Yeah.
and
I mean, that most helpful part was finding that old survey.
that's right.
Now, Linda, I don't mean to embarrass you, but you understand what we're looking at with the LiDAR stuff there. Just because you weren't at that,
Right.
okay. Which we found the depressions in the
Mhm.
ground, so the LiDAR was, what is it, 1 meter or 1 foot or something? It breaks it into real big.
I don't,
pieces.
I'm not certain on that, but, I mean, Alan was pretty confident that it would be a better indicator of picking out a pattern or, you know,
And that-
picking out those
And
depressions.
that's done through a drone.
A drone, yep.
Yeah,
I believe it's a drone, and I think the expense was a couple $1,000.
Yeah. Well, we did find that little grave that had EA on it, and
Yeah.
I've identified 2 people with the name EA starting. with
Within
E.
there,
Okay.
Within the records of the cemetery up there, so who
okay.
knows why that didn't get moved? But it may also indicate that's where EA really is, which one it was,
Might be
which
in
is
the-
kinda sad, because, but then we found the slate pieces too, and they have no reason to be there other than part of a stone system at one time.
All right, item 3, Whitney Gifford Consult. Do you want to speak to that?
Well, yeah, we had talked, I remember, Larry, you and I talked, I think, about maybe, we thought about what applications Whitney might have for that location, no, for the Riverview Cemetery where the stones are located up there.
She desires to take a look at the stones and see what she thinks about moving them.
Yeah. She hasn't,
And she, if nothing happens, she plans on being here at the next meeting in May.
okay,
Okay.
that's great, thank you.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, Larry went up and took a look at the stones where they're all laid out up there. They're not as in bad shape as I thought. I thought there were a lot more cracks in there, but they are there, and they are fragile, to say the least.
You said a lot of them are slate that are up there?
Most of them.
All but, I think, one. I think there's 1 or 2 at the bottom. They're marble. They were.
And they're thick slate too.
Oh, wow.
So they're heavy.
Yeah. And, okay, anything else on item 3? Okay.
No.
Item 4, Riverview Cemetery Association meeting. Do you have a date on that, Chris?
They do not have a date. It's usually in the end of June that they have their annual meeting. I've talked to them about it and asked them to, to get organized, to be ready to have that meeting, just to make sure we have a full understanding between the town of Bucksport and the Riverview Cemetery Association ahead of time, and whoever else needs to be involved, that we don't have any loose ends on this transfer. That if there is a problem with breakage or anything like that, that somebody's gonna be hopefully insured for that. I don't know if that can be possible. I mean, I can't even get them to talk about liability for their board, but we're gonna get that eventually up there.
Will you attend that meeting and
Yeah, oh,
let
yes.
us know?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Well, I'm hoping that if I go, I would be representing, well, I'm on the board up there, so it'd be a real.
I mean, if you let me
conflict.
know and you need somebody, I might,
It would be
depending on
nice to
the
have
schedule.
somebody that's not affiliated with the Riverview Cemetery Association come to that meeting
Well-
that represents this board, and I don't think it should be me because of my board position up there.
Well, at the next meeting, hopefully, maybe we'll have a date, we can figure out
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, thank you.
DAR update, I think Sue had something to add to this in the beginning.
Well, it appears that everything in June that's happening is happening on the 22nd.
Of course.
I was at a meeting this morning when we were talking about it, and Deputy Chief Winchester notified me that the big bicycle race that comes through Bucksport is on that same day. The
Do we have a
positive,
time?
the positive thing is that it starts going through at 9. It's generally around 3 hours. So that gets it pretty much cleared out by noon, but it's also the date for the memorial at 1 o'clock for
Bob Carmichael.
Bob Carmichael at the Performing Arts Center. But honestly, the date's set in terms of the DAR and all their notifications and all the, I can't change it, I'm just saying that it could be busy.
Do we have a solid time yet on that?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Oh, we are gonna, I thought there was some desire to move it from 1.
No,
No, it was 1.
1 o'clock.
Everything's 1. Okay.
I put the next one in there just to see where we were with that.
Business
The
support?
protester issue, if anybody contacted those folks at all, to see if there's some cooperation there, or need for cooperation, I should say.
That's with who?
Does anybody wanna reach out to the,
I could, because I'm usually
You
with
do
them. So what would you like me to say to Mr. Weeda?
Well, we were concerned about noise factor coming down off the bridge
Okay.
at that same time.
They're usually
1 o'clock.
pretty quiet when we hold signs. They're very respectful of noise.
And this isn't an issue with their techniques or anything, David,
Right.
so much as just to make sure that they understand that what's going on down below. If they
Yeah, so what I can do is I can possibly message Mr. Weeda tonight and say, there's a possibility that you guys would have to possibly move up or go before this event, maybe, possibly?
I can help with this.
Find a compromise or whatever.
I can help with this too.
Yes,
Just find out what David has in mind.
okay.
I don't believe he's around right now, but that's all right.
I'm not sure he's aware of it at the moment.
Okay.
I think that,
Anyway, if anybody,
that, you know, I'm not sure a protest at the same time we're dedicating this is actually appropriate.
right,
Right.
I think that moving their time or something would
Right.
probably be,
like
you know, instead
possibly
of it
later.
from 12 to, or whenever they do it, they did it from 10 to 11, something that just
Okay,
didn't make it at the exact same time. They were doing this dedication with all sorts of people speaking and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff.
We'll figure this out, Dave, Stephen, yeah, we'll figure it out and get in touch with David. I know my wife is in touch with him quite often on other issues,
okay.
and he was out of the office, so to speak, the last couple of days.
Yeah, he was, so,
Thank you. I just wanted to put it on there
Okay.
just to make sure that we talk about it and don't forget about it, that's all.
okay.
And then the rest of it, which, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
The tents, the chairs, the audio, in my understanding, you were working on that as well for the event? The tent,
Yes.
the audio, the speaker,
So
whatever.
that there's magnification of sound, yes. Yep.
Thank you.
okay. Business support established, is there anything to discuss there?
That was the fundraising. I think we were looking for interest and maybe, but not necessarily looking for money
Right,
for this. Basically,
just to let them know, I mean, there's gonna be a lot going on here.
There
I was
sure
gonna
is.
say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the library had a program going on, and the businesses were aware that this was going on. It could be some way to attract customers.
I hope so, geez,
Yeah,
awesome.
but we weren't gonna ask for money, and
Right.
No.
the Historical Society's gonna be open for whatever we can do as it relates to the Revolutionary War.
Okay,
And there is information on Revolutionary War soldiers. I think I've got it on the drive for the Historical Society. There's a listing on there somewhere. I was seeing it fly by today when I was looking for something else. So I'll get some of that information out too. Just you get it assembled into a central place, and then we can decide if we wanna print it, disperse it, however we wanna send it out. But also get Facebook or whatever, something put on there that day, it was from the
We're leading
Historical
up to it.
Society, maybe the library, as it relates to the event.
okay.
But there was not gonna be any organized fundraising on this from the town's perspective.
Yep.
I just wanna make sure we all agree on that too.
I know we talked about talking to Colin about whether ice cream, I'm happy to, if somebody wants to talk to the library, or I can, whatever.
Well, the library's
The
all set.
landlord, we've agreed to stay open, but
That would be it.
Mhm.
they didn't. We agreed to stay open.
Okay.
But
Saturday time move request and contact with protesters, so you're gonna take care of that, Chris and
Yeah.
Steve?
I'm gonna try to, yeah.
Okay.
I probably can see David this weekend probably, or I can message him on Facebook. And then if he has any questions, should I ask him to call Sue or whoever? I don't know. I'm just
We'll figure it out.
Okay,
Steve.
cool.
We'll figure it out.
All right,
The public services need on item 4, Mr. Chair, was basically, do we have enough public services to support the DAR, which I'm sure we do. But when you add all these other events in,
I mean, like public safety, whether there's gonna be ample?
yes, public safety with all these events.
Sounds like everything's gonna kind of be right there.
Well, there'll be something down the Alamo, you know,
Yeah.
Right,
and the race.
this isn't a contentious activity. I don't expect that we're gonna get negative publicity
Oh.
from this, or any kind of, that would require an augmented police presence.
Mine was based on traffic.
On
the
what?
amount of traffic we have in
Oh.
town, with all these events, all basically.
That I can tell you right now that because of the bicycle race, there's gonna be police everywhere down here and trying to get people across the bridge
yeah, true, yeah.
through the,
We could just bring a windmill down through at that point. That'd be
we're doing
perfect
90 windmills
this summer.
through Bucksport, coming across the bridge, turning the corner at Irving and going down east. They're gonna be removing streetlights, they're gonna be,
Oh, I get it now.
Wow.
You said windmill, the big
Blades.
long blades,
Yeah, yeah.
90.
I can't even think about it, even though they're talking about doing it at 5:30 in the morning, and I think
I
about
thought you were kidding.
what it looks like when we're backed up to
Good luck.
the hardware store on Saturday morning when they do change out on rentals on MDI.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Now, they're bringing 90 windmills
Blades.
through.
blades.
Big
Blades.
long blades.
3 blades, wow.
And
Is this a
they
one-time
are
event?
big.
This summer.
This
All
summer.
this summer.
All summer.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
Well,
Make an interesting thing.
I haven't even talked to him yet. Public Safety Director Gagan has been talking to them to sort of trying to coordinate it with DOT, and I have a message on my desk to call the people who are apparently in charge of this to talk about it, but, I mean, we're gonna be trying to do those walls this summer. They can't do the walls if you can't get,
Yeah, there's some logistic issues.
there's logistics are
oh,
incredible. Why they didn't just ship them to Eastport and go that way, I
Yeah, I
don't
know.
know.
They're alone, they're using that now all the time, the big ships coming in there.
They do.
yeah, yeah.
Nobody asked me to go to Eastport.
Well,
Oops.
maybe we need to put a meter there somewhere.
Yeah, I know, jeez.
How many deliveries?
90,
90
90
separate
blades,
days?
Wow.
It can't be days.
That's-
90 blades.
90
They're
blades.
talking about 5 trips a day
Okay.
Wow.
That's just-
over the
that's
course of the
awful.
summer.
Hmm.
The first one is whenever will just be like this test drive, but figuring out that turn, when they turn because of those, they're gonna be in the parking lot of Irving. And the light, they're gonna have to take down street light,
Oh, God.
Oh,
Be interesting.
Oh, that's
where
heavy.
are they headed to?
down east. There's a wind
Eastport.
project.
Eastport.
Yeah, probably gonna bring it right into
Oh,
Eastport.
boy.
Oh, my good Lord.
That would be not good, taking these.
I'm just trying to,
No,
I'm trying to
No,
figure
it's,
that
it's,
out.
it's some place down east, but this is where there's one going in another direction that they're doing, not this direction, and this one is going.
Hmm.
Because I said, go from Searsport up 1A through Hamden and then go Route 9.
Mhm.
You know, that, why doesn't somebody, nobody's
Sounds better to
called
me.
me about
Yeah.
logistics.
You really do.
Well, yeah.
I thought that's what we had trains in Searsport for now too. Oh, that's what CP was advertising, they were gonna give a much better service down there and,
Now,
anyways.
we'll see. All right, next item, we've talked about Historical Society and Library, that they're gonna be open. We've talked about item E, update to council. Other items not on the agenda for discussion. Does anybody have anything?
I do not.
Nothing.
Larry?
I'm still wondering what we're gonna do with that stone for James Ginn.
I should have followed up on that, I guess, Larry, but I haven't. So did we,
I checked with Judith on I don't know if she knew anything about Ann Riggs, his wife. You mentioned there's a possibility that she was buried in Horrington.
I think she
She
couldn't
didn't-
find it?
She didn't know anything about.
All right,
She hadn't come across an Ann Riggs.
all right, well,
And
All
she
right.
seemed to think that James Gunn was buried in Silver Lakes Cemetery. But that's not the case.
I'll look up the Orrington records and see if he's up there, but the Ginn folder that we had up at the Erie Center just had none of the information about that. It just talked about his service, but he was mixed in with all the other Ginns in the folder, so it didn't reveal anything of, finality to it, but the Riggs thing has been referenced in two things that I've read, so I got a hunch that she may have been buried in a place that maybe Judith doesn't deal with. I don't know if was it Pine Tree Cemetery is one up there, there's about 3 or 4 more up there, but
Yeah.
James Ginn, you told me that the DAR has some information on that, is that correct? Do you remember having that discussion?
Only that was in one of their publications.
Okay, so,
It does list him.
and I've got a subscription to the Full 3 Archives, which is the National Archives of all the military things, and I've looked through that. I haven't found him yet, but that doesn't mean it's not in there, just gotta keep trying. But we need to order a stone once we get
Well,
this stuff
that's-
figured
yeah.
out, right? And that can be ordered through the Veterans Administration, is that correct?
Well, I'm not sure. I guess that's my question, part of my question.
All right.
I think we've got enough information that he did exist and that he needs a stone, whether we know where he's buried or not.
And we'd already suggested that the stone could be placed on the back end of the
Buxton.
cemetery.
Yeah.
I'll contact find out what's going on about contacting getting a stone made. Is that okay if I do that?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay. Anyone else with item not on the agenda? All right, so the next meeting would be May 23rd. Is that good with everybody?
Yep, sounds good to me.
Okay. Got a motion,
The,
Steve?
Yep.
no, I just had one
Oh,
more thing.
Wait, he's got one more thing.
The cannons for Oak Hill. I was looking for timelines on when they were placed. And actually, there was 4 of them in Bucksport. 2 were placed at Oak Hill and 2 in front of the, what is now the American Legion building. Of course, as you know, the 2 that were in the cemetery were supposedly back at the fort now.
I've
Traded.
been looking for those serial numbers, by the way, and I can't find them again, but they're there somewhere, I just can't locate them.
Yeah, there was a trade made in the early 90s.
Yeah.
To put the cannons back in the fort for this gentleman cleaning all the stones in the cemetery. There's an article here by Sharon Bray.
Oh, okay.
I wonder, did they come from the fort originally? They did.
Mhm.
They were loaned to Bucksport.
They were given,
They were given.
They were
And
given.
then taken back, kind of.
and then they requested them back.
Well,
So that's how that swapped.
a different group requested them back. I mean, they were given
Basically.
out of the auspices of the federal government, I think, during World War II,
Yep.
was that, where they wanted to melt them all
Yeah.
down. They kept a few there, but they plopped a couple over here, for whatever reason, I don't know if they were hiding them or what, but eventually, the state, I think it was the governor, did not want to give up these cannons, but eventually they did. And I think it was like 43 when they gave up most of the cannons that are over there. These 2 stayed up here. But I do remember the cannons, now that you mentioned, in front of the Legion Hall. As a young,
And those
So I
were
don't-
also,
I don't know where those
No, I
went.
don't know, I
No.
don't know where those went.
No.
They
They
I'm
were
guessing
right there in
scrap.
front. I'd forgotten all about those, but you're right, there used to be 2 there. But then when they made that agreement to have Mr. Whedon come down and clean, and that may have been Pat Adams when she was managing the cemetery up there at the time, I don't know, she's now passed. But they made that deal to move them over there. And I haven't been over there to see them, and I've been looking, you might have in your records the serial numbers if you have time to look at.
I do, I can find them.
Okay, because Larry has mentioned it earlier.
I'd just like to go over there to see if I can find it.
Oh.
Maybe ask for him back.
You've traversed the river a few times.
Yeah,
Put him on his truck and get him back here. No, that's right.
right.
Yeah.
I'll find the serial numbers.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Anyone else?
Mm,
All right. Your motion adjourned?
yes, I second,
Okay.
sorry.
That's all right. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Stephen made the motion, you made the second.
That's right.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay. You have